And welcome here to MoreTalkFCB. And yes, Barca must have had an incredible performance because we're even uploading here on MoreTalkFCB. And today, actually, we're doing something a little bit new on the channel because we are going to be hearing the reaction of the Newcastle camp after their defeat to Barca. And you think, well, why are we going to hear from the opposition? But I've got to say, it was great to listen to what Newcastle had to say about facing this Barcelona team, about what it was like to play against them, to try to threaten them, to try to hurt them, and why Newcastle were just unable to get one over on Barca on Thursday night, guys. So coming up, we're going to hear from a number of Newcastle representatives, and I have to say, there is high praise for this Barca team. And please, guys, if you do enjoy the new concept here, drop a like. I hope you're going to enjoy it. Now let's get to it. Because let's kick off here, first of all, with Anthony Gordon, who of course did score for Newcastle on the night, but was unable to make the full comeback in the end. And I've got to say, listening here to Anthony Gordon, it brings a smile to my face. What he has to say about Barca and the way that he speaks about what it was like to try and get amongst it, particularly there in the midfield areas, it is special. Have a listen. Just have a listen to this.
Anthony, was that almost a learning experience?
Yeah, I think in ways, the way they keep the ball was a learning experience. We don't play against that kind of style in England. Not at that level anyway. I thought they were the best I played against in that sense of the game. Some of the play in midfield was really top.
Because like I say, that is high praise. That is really, really high praise for a professional there. That don't forget, he's just lost a match, and it was a difficult night. Certainly then Newcastle were hoping for more and more, and the way they played, certainly in the first half, they caused Barca a number of problems. And just listen to the way he is glowing about the way that we played, about the way the midfield looked. And he was asked there about the added time, the fact that 7 minutes were added on. Newcastle were pushing for that equaliser, but they were unable to get the ball.
I can't imagine any side coming to St James's Park. You pull a goal back with 7 minutes of stoppage time and then a side being able to keep the ball for virtually 7 minutes.
No, neither do I. And we played against some top teams like City, Liverpool, Chelsea and stuff, Arsenal. But the way they passed the ball, the midfielders, the way they were fluid in the movement and combining, made it really hard for us to press. And it's not easy coming here and doing that because they're under a lot of pressure. We pressed with intensity, we're very physical, but to be fair to them, they've done really well.
Yeah, is that also a lesson here, that because you were intense, you did press? In the European games, can you get away with slightly less? If there's any contact, are you likely to give away a free kick?
Yeah, listen, I thought the referee did have a good game. I thought towards the end they bought free kicks really well, which I wish they weren't given, but ultimately that's football. I'd do the same myself, especially if we're winning. But yeah, I thought they controlled the game really well, which they're good at. They started passing, they started winning fouls. That 7 minutes become 2 minutes in no time. What's
the feeling in the dressing room? Is it one of disappointment or one of this is the start?
I think a bit of both. I think you've got to be disappointed because you don't want to have the mindset of like we lost to Barcelona. Fair enough, that's not who we are. We try and go for everyone. We try and beat everyone. I think we had the better chances. We were just weren't clinical enough, to be honest. They were really clinical with the chances they had. Obviously, they scored two very good goals. But also proud, they're probably top 3 teams in the world right now, and we've done really well. So it's definitely the start of our campaign. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
And I think it's interesting there to hear about how, Newcastle brought the pressure. They brought the high press so many times, particularly in the first half. They were looking to really, really get at Barca and just force them into these mistakes and hoping that maybe under the pressure of the atmosphere as well, that they would crumble. But that is not something that happened. And I thought it was interesting too, listening there to Anthony Gordon talking about Barca buying fouls. Now, he didn't mean that in a derogatory way. He didn't mean anything about cheating or anything like that. He said, I do the same myself. It's about being clever. It's about using your body at the right moment in the game, in the right place, to just take that pressure off, to just relieve the pressure that's building up on you. And I think right here with Barca, it might be a young team. It might be a team who are still learning on this stage and in different sorts of atmospheres, but they are making such strides and they really are learning how to manage games and really thrive in the biggest of moments.
I should just ask you about Marcus Rashford's England teammate. I suppose you might be both competing for the same position come the summer. What did you make of his performance tonight?
No, really good. I think he's had obviously a tough time for the past year or so. So I'm really happy for him. You know, I know as a footballer you go through difficult times and it can feel very lonely. So he's worked very hard. He seemed very happy last time I was on England camp with him, and he's a good lad, like very nice guy, very shy. And listen, he's a top player when he's on his day, one of the best in the world. He scored 2 amazing goals, so well done to him.
And those are really nice words as well there from Anthony Gordon, just to round off that whole interview, talking about Marcus Rashford, how hard he's had to work, you know, what he's been through, some of the struggles, and he is a great guy, you know, we all know that. He's a very, very down-to-earth, very, very nice person, on and off the pitch as well, so great to see him. Even a Newcastle player was almost sort of happy to see what he was able to do last night. When it came, though, to the Newcastle head coach, Eddie Howe, I think the tone was a little bit different. You know, I don't think he was as glowing in terms of Barca. I think the main thing for him was he was incredibly disappointed that Newcastle didn't do more, that they did have maybe chances in the game. What does it take to beat this Barca team? Well, let's listen to what Eddie had to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that would be a very fair reflection on what I've seen tonight. I think a lot of effort, a lot of commitment, a lot of heart from the players. I thought it was a good performance without being a great one. To beat Barcelona, I think it needs to be a great one. And yeah, we had the chances, two big moments in that first half we didn't take. And ultimately, when you concede the first goal, the game swings on that moment.
I think that says it all, really. And I think, again, we go back to what we discussed in the match review yesterday about how key that Joan Garcia save was. You know, how important that moment in the game. It all could have changed. You know, if Newcastle take the lead there through Harvey Barnes, this is a whole different kettle of fish. And I just think as well, that Rashford opening goal, that was massive too, of course, to get Barca on the score sheet, to get us ahead and really take the sting out of the crowd in this game too.
Look, we obviously tried to make it difficult for Barcelona to settle into the game. We wanted to try and regain the ball high if they played out from the back. I thought we had good success with that. I was pretty pleased. We knew there'd be phases also in the game where we'd have to defend a little bit lower. We'd have to be good in defending space, and relatively pleased with that as well until the first goal, really. The first goal's a big moment. We don't mark. Firstly, we don't stop the cross, and then we don't mark well enough in the box, and we concede. And I think when you're chasing the game against them, that becomes very difficult because they can exploit gaps that maybe you wouldn't have left previously. So that was probably the most challenging part of the game for us.
And yeah, once we were ahead in the game there, you listen to Eddie Howe, you hear the way that he talks about Barca exploiting gaps, you know, their ability to just take that game away from you. And I do believe, actually, guys, when we were 2-0 up in this game, the way that it opened up, the way we almost invited Newcastle onto us, you know, come and try and get a goal, try and get yourselves back in the game. And there was massive spaces for us. I do believe there, guys, that with better final passes, you know, a little bit more precision in the final third, this could have been 3, 4, 5 on the day, because when that game opened up, that's the situation Barca want. In an away game, we are so good now at taking advantage of those spaces. And yeah, Newcastle, they were really, really running the risk there when they were pushing to get themselves back in the game. Barca could have really, really taken it away from them. But I want to talk here as well about the words of Bruno Guimarães in midfield. Now, he came sort of face-to-face, head-to-head with the likes of Pedri and Frenkie de Jong. Now, his interview after the game wasn't actually in English here, so I'm going to talk over the top of him while he speaks there. But let me tell you what he had to say, because he actually came out and said basically, Barca are an annoying team. You know, there was actually a bit of frustration there. Obviously, he took it all in good spirits. But he said the way that they keep possession, you know, they don't get tired of controlling the ball. They don't also seem to tire physically in the way they're just popping it around. And it almost seems as though in these kinds of games, these kinds of nights, we've seen it so many times with Barca, they are tiring the opposition. The opposition are just chasing shadows in that midfield. And Bruno was at the very, very heart of that. And he actually said they make you lose your nerve. You don't get to touch the ball. You get physically drained, exhausted. And then when you finally get it, you don't use the ball well because you are tired. And I think that's a great way to actually look at this right here, because so many people talk about the fact that, when Barca are in control, what they can do with the ball. But yeah, don't forget, because of what it takes to actually get it back, when teams do finally receive the ball again, they're panicking because they're thinking, we don't want to lose it again. You know, we don't have to really fight to get this ball back. And they're so tired. They've had to work so hard to regain it. And I thought it was fascinating there to hear that, yeah, when we get it, we don't use it well because we are drained from having to win it back and what it takes to get the ball off this Barca midfield. And they were so good yesterday. I mean, it was an absolute joy to watch Pedri and De Jong dominate this game every time they got the ball. Such calmness, such composure, such maturity as well on this stage. And guys, what do you think of those words there? To hear Anthony Gordon just glowing in his praise, to hear Bruno talk about the fact that, yeah, Barca are annoying and they hurt you and they drain everything from you. And Eddie Howe talking about how Barca, to beat them in this state with this team, you have to be absolutely perfect. And guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. To hear those words, it's complimentary, it makes us feel good, it gives us confidence for the Champions League campaign ahead. We've got a long road to get to the final, but this is the beginning. I will see all of you soon. I hope you have enjoyed here. A bit of a different concept on the channel today. Thank you indeed, guys, for tuning in here. And of course, over on the main channel, I will catch all of you soon. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.